Now, all watches range in quality, price and prestige. We all know that, but something that I'm asked quite often is, what are the best value for money watches? What are the first luxury watches money can buy? What are the best watches in general? Impossible things to answer like that. Well, the whole affordable luxury idea is the main point that the brand Christopher Ward tried to get across, talking about cutting out the middleman and being luxury quality for reasonable prices. And today we are putting that to the test, as I have a Christopher Ward 12 to review, their pretty much most popular and well-known watch, other than maybe the Bel Canto. Just to quickly say before the video starts, I'm currently doing a giveaway for the Merca World Time at New Year's. To enter, just like, sub and comment the hidden message in the video. It takes you 3 seconds, costs you nothing and helps me out greatly. Anyways, before we get into the review of the watch itself, we must talk a little bit about the brand. Christopher Ward's inception was on the Thames in London in 2004, when 3 mates decided to start a business together and, sharing the interest of horology, settled on watches. Being called Christopher Ward via a mixing of their names that they state sounded the most quintessentially British. With this, the brand was formed. However, they struggled to gain attention at first when they made ads in the Independent newspaper. Luckily, Dave Malone, a lecturer and watch expert from Tasmania, saw their advert for a watch powered by the ETA 2824-2 and decided to buy one. Now, his original plan was actually to write a scathing review on the timepiece on the world's largest watch forum, timezone.com. However, upon arrival, the build quality and genuine 2824-2 impressed him, causing him to call it the best value mechanical watch in the world. This catapulted Christopher Ward's popularity, leading to them working with an exclusive Swiss watchmaking company, Synergies Horloger, based in the watch capital of Biel in 2008. This allowed them to create bespoke modified movements like the C9 Jumping Hour series and the C900 single pusher. In 2014, Christopher Ward and Synergies Horloger, owned by Jacques Beda, announced their merging into one company, which then on July 2nd of that same year led to the Caliber SH21, the first commercially viable mechanical movement from a British watch brand in over 50 years. Travel to the present day, and Christopher Ward is now a very well known and respected microbrand, known for creating some of the best value watches in the market, especially in that entry luxury range, and having a wide variety of options to choose from. This includes the 12, what I have here today, which is their integrated sports watch, the Bel Canto, a worldwide recognised and renowned watch for being, revolutionary, being one of the only modern chiming watches in its price range, the Trident, a dive watch with GMT variations, the C1 Moon Phase, an aventurine stone dial dress piece, the Sealander, a great daily piece also with a GMT variation, and the Super Compressor, a watch with a rare and usually pricey complication, of which has a mechanism that increases water resistance as you descend. It's also good to mention that Christopher Ward is one of those few rare microbrands that I would say has sort of moved past that microbrand tag and become more of an independent brand, quite similar to Studio Underdog. So their lineup is great, at least on paper and in pictures, as the designs are nice, the proportions are good, along with the fact that they do larger and smaller sizes for most of their pieces, and the finishing, build quality and specs are great, with most of their watches having SW200 movements or better. However, of course, being hands-on is different. So today, I will finally go into the review of the Christopher Ward 12 I have with a Nordic blue dial. Now, not only am I not getting paid for this, but I've actually been wearing the watch for over 2 weeks, going out with it. I haven't been treating it like a baby. I've worn it the way it's meant to be worn to give you the most honest and accurate review that I can. One more thing I'd like to mention about the brand is how much I like them. Not only because I'm, of course, British and have a strong sense of pride for British watchmaking being some of the best historically, and the fact that my surname is quite literally Ward, from the same origin and the same spelling and everything as the brand name, of course being a British surname that's quite popular, but I had to mention their email. As you can see on screen, they stated, "When the watch arrives, I encourage you to give your honest thoughts on the review model that is sent," which has further increased my respect for them, as I get many brands offering to pay me to or asking me to write positive reviews only. Anyways, finally getting onto the actual review of the watch itself and moving past the brand, we are starting off with the dial. Now we have one of just the most unique and awesome texturings I've ever seen. The texture is actually the CW logo, with the plus having the middle square fully raised and either of the four sides sloping down. This gives a lovely shimmering effect and a really nice texture that goes quite deep and creates plenty of depth from various different angles. As well as that, the logo is lovely. Very tasteful, with two squares next to each other, one being a condensed English flag and one being a condensed Swiss flag next to each other, to stand for their two places of heritage, England for the original Christopher Ward brand, and Swiss for Synergies Horloger, the brand that they merged with. Plus of course the fact that the designs are British and the manufacturing is Swiss. Additionally, it sports superluminova, so the lume is good too. The crystal is sapphire and very flat, which helps with the slimness of the watch. Of course, sapphire, with good anti-reflective coating that this has, is pretty much the best you can have at any price range. It doesn't really get better than this, so there's nothing to complain about there. As for the bracelet, it has just impeccable finishing. It's also very comfortable and has a butterfly clasp. However, don't worry, it does have micro adjustments via a friction fit mechanism, where as you can see, you just sort of pull the two lugs closest to the clasp. This works perfectly fine and removes the issue butterfly clasps usually have, that being the lack of micro adjustments. And it is real easy to use. However, it does mean that you get two little spots under your wrist where you can see your skin, but that's okay as you won't really see it unless you're undoing the clasp. The fact that this has an integrated sports bracelet with a butterfly clasp and brushed on the top with polishing on the sides and of course a little bit of polishing at the top of each lug, as well as the shape of the lug, everything about this bracelet pretty much screams PRX, except a bit more elegant, a bit slimmer, and definitely a lot higher quality and higher end, plus of course it has micro adjustments. The movement is very good, a workhorse called the SW200-1. This is an ETA 2824-2 clone that is used by many brands. Simply put, only Swatch brands can use ETA movements, and Sellita or SW movements are just marginally worse clones. For anything in the 1000 to 2000 range, the SW200 is pretty much the general go-to. It's accurate, it's reliable, it has so many parts out on the market for servicing because it's mass produced. It's also 26 joules with a 38-hour power reserve and is 4 Hz, which gives it a nice sweep. Now, even though the accuracy stated is about 20 seconds out a day, I measured mine to be about only 3 seconds. Talking about sizing, the 12 comes in a few, with 36, which is the size I chose, 38, 40 and 41, but only for the skeletonized versions. All sizes are proportioned very well, and there's a size for everyone. I'd say that 38 is probably the best for most, and 40 is better for larger men, all of which are nice and thin, with the 36 being just under 10mm, so very wearable. I picked the 36 personally, even though I can actually wear a 38 very comfortably, just because I prefer the smaller look of watches. I just personally like it when they look smaller on the wrist. Just my personal preference, I'm not one for the big blocky watches like some men are. Also, I must just quickly mention, the lug to lug is only 40mm on this 36mm version, so the lugs really don't add much being an integrated bracelet and all. Moving on to the packaging. Oh, the packaging. This is the first microbrand watch I have ever dealt with such a nice opening experience. The box seems to be some sort of black leather and wood, with magnets at the very back of the watch that give it a nice snap when closing or opening. Not only is the box beautiful, but it has that like Apple product iPhone packaging feel of a clean, elegant opening experience. Now for the big boy, the specs are good, but what about the finishing? Well, as I previously stated, the bracelet finishing is impeccable and the case is no different. The transitions from brush to polishing are sharp and clean, and I see absolutely zero manufacturing imperfections or QC issues. To give you a good idea, I'd say that the level of finishing on this watch is sort of around the Tudor Black Bay Longines Spirit level. The watch also sports a more unique dodecahedron design for the bezel and case back, with 3 types of finishing on the bezel alone: sandblasting, polishing and brushing. There are also some crown guards which I don't generally like, but they are small and sleek and give some protection and uniqueness to the watch's silhouette, but they're not big and bulky or ugly. so I don't hate it. Now for my opinion on the brand, I am extremely impressed. I'd probably put it up there in the top 5 sort of micro brands that are, of course, a bit more in the affordable range. If you're talking about big independents, that's a whole different thing. But I would generally put them up there. I'd say I generally tell people that the big 3 of micro brands, the holy trinity, if you will, is probably mine, Formex, and Christopher Ward, with Studio Underdog sort of being that Rolex where everyone wants one, it's very reliable and it's hard to get one. And I'd say that Christopher Ward and Studio Underdog are probably the 2 most popular and well regarded and wanted micro brands that there are. Not only that, but they have such expansive offerings. I mean, not only are they making some of the best quality watches in the price range, for example the 12 being about $1,330, but they also have like 10 different other watches which are all really nicely designed. I don't think they have a single miss. Not only that, but with the 12, the Bel Canto, their more in-house calibers, which are modified ETA and such, the same thing that brands like Longines and Tudor do, and they're just expansive, great value offerings, plus of course some English heritage. I am in love with this brand. The only issues I could ever say with it are that the micro adjustments are a little bit weird. I'm not quite used to them, and you do see a little bit of skin underneath them. But unless you're actually opening the clasp and taking the watch on or off, you don't really see it anyway, so this is not much of a big deal. My verdict on the timepiece itself is that I am very impressed. It's very PRX-esque, and if you like the PRX but you want something that is a lot higher quality, a lot better of a movement, just a general nicer quality watch and something a bit different, I definitely say the Christopher Ward 12 is there for you. It's a very nice timepiece, it's done very well, it wears very elegantly, and there's nothing I can necessarily say is bad about it. As for the actual brand itself, I've got to say that at least in the last year, I am beyond impressed. Right, they've been doing so well recently, coming out with more new, intricate and different things that other brands aren't doing. In fact, I'd probably even go as far to say that in the last year, maybe a bit longer than that, but definitely in the last year, for 2024, they've actually outdone brands like Patek, AP and Rolex in terms of coming out with new and exciting things that are more attainable for general people and that are actually a bit more hype and popular. But they aren't just hype, they are really good quality watches and they are a very good price. The people behind them are very passionate about what they do, which I really like, and of course with the email I showed you, I find them quite respectable. I mean, if we're looking at like the new Guilloche Bel Canto Classic that they came out with this year, easily in the top 10 watches this year to come out generally, and probably in the top 10 watches of all time that are under $5,000, at least in the modern age. All of this means that they're doing really well. I am very impressed. I actually have a few more sponsors from them coming for you guys, and I'm really excited to see where this brand goes. I can see good things happening for them in the future. Anyways, if you like the video, please do like and subscribe. Again, it takes 5 seconds, it helps me out greatly, and it costs you nothing. I do hope you enjoyed the video, and always remember, time keeps ticking, so use the time you have wisely.